Hello, everybody. Welcome to the UAL CCI stream about the MSc program that we do in creative computing. Yay! Today, we're going to talk to three amazing students about their work, and they're going to tell us a little bit about their process and what they've made, and then we're going to discuss their experience on the course and have a little bit of a Q&A back and forth. I hope that it'll be fun and enjoyable. The MSc here is a program that focuses on using creative coding to make art, but also focuses on helping artists learn to become amazing programmers. And I look forward to your questions. Feel free to put them in the YouTube and we'll answer them for you as we go along. And without any further ado, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the course leader, and I have a long history in making playable experience in video games. I also have a nonprofit called Code Liberation Foundation, where I've taught several thousand women to program creative applications with things like P5 and Unity for free for about, I think we've been around for like 6 or 7 years now. And I've included a ton of women in that project and had the honor to get to know a lot of people. I've been at CCI now for 2 years. I transitioned from another university in London, and it has been a real delight to see the program get up and running. We're in our very first year, so the students that you're going to meet today are our very first cohort, and it has been an honor to teach them. I have to honestly say it's been super rewarding. We've made art together, which is part of my pedagogical practice, is to actually create with my students, and I find that a much more engaging way to learn than just reading out of a book. So we've done exhibitions together at Welcome Collection and Tape Modern, and we've learned a lot from each other, and I look forward to hearing more about their projects and sharing that with you. So without any further ado, Anna, would you like to kick it off for us?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, YouTube. I'm Anna. I'm one of Phoenix's students. So a little bit about my design background at the beginning. So I actually studied graphic design at UAL Camberwell. So I'm still in the same campus right now. So it was during my third year that I discovered a very strong passion and interest in merging together visual communication, so graphic design and interaction design and user-centric design with tech to, I guess, might sound very broad, but in order to make the world a better place and to bring about positive change. And more specifically, a lot of my projects inside and outside of my course, my current course, has been around using design as a tool for positive well-being and to, again, it might sound quite broad, but to make people smile. And one of the key sort of experiences that that actually led me into discovering this passion of mine was when I participated in UAL CCI's Feminist Alexa workshop that was run by Feminist Internet. So it was the very first of the many workshops that followed afterwards and that I also got to take part in. So before that, I always thought of like art and design and tech as like completely different disciplines that are far apart from each other. But this was the workshop that really taught me that that is absolutely not true. And by merging together all three of these disciplines, you can bring about a lot of amazing change and you can have a lot of impact. So I guess that was sort of, there are many reasons in which I decided to study on this course, but that was the main and the initial reason. And I'm really grateful that I was able to experience that workshop, take part in that workshop. And yeah, so that's sort of what, which brings me to where I am right now. So I'd also like to share a bit about my projects that I've been doing in the MSc course. Yes, so that's my portfolio that I'll be screen sharing. So one of the very first projects that I did in this course, it was in Phoenix's physical computing class. It is called the Smile Post. It's a bit slow. Yes, so this is a portable post office that lets you, as you can see in the image, you can receive letters on one end, and on the other end, you can send letters. So this was mainly inspired from my sort of exploration around how design can be used as a tool to sort of genuinely like make people smile and for people to have an enjoyable, like happy experience. So this is it's in the shape of a standard like US style mailbox. And actually this is the second version of it. I have another one that I built. It's like a completely different design, but with like similar functions. But this is the 2.0 like the updated version, I guess, the upgraded version. So I'll show this video here so that it makes more sense what it actually does. So I'll just click. Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Yes, so as you saw in the video, on one side you can press any of the buttons, and there's 5 options: motivation, happiness, tranquility, confidence, and reassurance. You can click any of those, and on the and with thermal printer, it prints out little messages of affirmation, and little receipt size messages that ideally I was hoping that it'll make people smile. And so that was sort of the main, like the first project that led me into my current interest around using design as a tool to encourage positive well-being and for positive mental health. So that is SmilePost. I'd like to share another project. Is it okay if I screen share again my portfolio? Thank you so much. So this is the most recent project that I did with Phoenix. It's called the Hotpot Society. And so this is a game that I developed using the software called Unity. And it's a digital hotpot dining experience that explores the role of social interaction in commensality when you're eating with others around the dinner table. And it was greatly inspired from my sort of personal observation of going to restaurants outside and seeing many people, especially teenagers, just like on their phone while they're waiting for their food, and they're just not having conversations with like people right in front of you. So I was very interested in this idea of like how digital technology, it encourages communication, but more in the digital space. And I wanted to use digital technology or tech devices as a way to encourage social interaction and communication within the physical space. So this is a game, it doesn't really have a specific sort of goal or objective, but what you can do is eat the hotpot digitally online. And while you wait for the food, there's 5 to 10 minutes where you are given games, or you get prompts. You're given games that you're supposed to, or you're encouraged to play with the people that you're playing the game with. So it encourages social interaction while you're waiting for the food. So I'll send, hopefully on the YouTube link, I'll send a link where you can play that game. It's online. Yeah, so that is Hot Pot Society. And yeah, this was sort of a big challenge in a way for me, because as I said earlier, I take on quite more of a user-centric approach, and my design tends to be more towards like design for problem solving. I identify a specific problem and I try to design in order to sort of not necessarily solve the problem, but raise awareness of the issue and to ideally solve the problem. But this was, for this project, in discussion with Phoenix, or I decided to sort of take on a more experiential design approach and to stay away from my sort of usual pathway of user-centric design. So it's definitely a challenge, a bit of a challenge for me. And also I was learning a new software, Unity. So it was a big challenge, but I very much enjoyed it. And I would say this is definitely still in the prototype stage. So I would like to further develop on this project in the near future. I think I'm done with the screen sharing, if that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So a bit about in regards to sort of my future creative practice and like what's next. So as some of you might know, we're going into we finished our last top term and we're going into our thesis project term. So I'm currently in the sort of initial ideating stages right now, brainstorming a lot, doing a lot of ideating activities. And I would say I'm not sort of like, I don't have a specific sort of research question yet, but one thing that I am like 100% sure is that I definitely want to, like throughout this course, I really learned that what I truly enjoy as a designer and what I want to do as a designer is to go into that sort of user-centric approach by using art, design, and tech. And also, as I mentioned, I'm very much interested in positive well-being and mental health. So that's definitely going to be my main theme for my thesis project and for my future creative practice. So yeah, that was a bit about myself, and I'm really looking forward to the thesis project term and for the rest of the course. I'll pass it back on to Phoenix.
Hey, it's me. I'm back. I have some questions. Can I ask you some questions? And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A amongst the people in the YouTube channel and ourselves. So I was going to ask, what's one of the most interesting things about this course you've experienced or learned so far?
So one of the most interesting things, and actually one of the things that I really enjoy the most, was that it kind of gives you a very well-rounded understanding of interaction design and experience design with Phoenix, but also like machine learning and more programming with, well, it was with Nick and VTech from our course. And also we got the theory side as well from Sheldon, and theory in all three classes, actually, three modules actually. But I feel like it gives a very kind of, it gives you like a nice pack, everything. And that's sort of like what I really enjoy, because I went into the course with a primary interest in more of like interaction design and experience design, user-centered design. But then I was also able to learn a lot about machine learning and more of the theoretical aspects of computational thinking. Those are things that I knew a bit, but definitely something that I didn't really consider much to use in my own creative practice. But I feel like having all three of these modules really led me into like clarifying my design pathway and more of my kind of develop all my interests as well. So I would say that's the most interesting and useful, I guess, in a way, about the course.
Cool. And then what was something you found really challenging about the course?
So as I said, I come from a graphic design background, so I didn't have much programming knowledge when I first started the course. I did a bit of, so back in third year of graphic design, I did quite a bit of like HTML, CSS, like web development stuff, like JavaScript, things like that. But it was just that. And it was like basic things. And I also taught myself. It wasn't something that I learned through the course. So I would definitely say when I started the course, I was at like a beginner level. So for me, the programming aspect was definitely the most challenging thing about the course. And learning like Python and C++ and new languages.
That's awesome. Learning to code is always challenging, but you know, your projects really show that you've overcome that and you're like really a decent dev now. I feel like you can make your own stuff, which is exciting.
Thank you so much.
And then if you could tell our new students coming in something to take, you know, for them going forward, what wisdom would you pass on about your experience?
So I think I have several, but one of them, going back to like programming knowledge and my kind of personal experience, I would say I think it'll definitely be useful if you don't have much background in programming to kind of teach yourself the basics, like maybe during the summer before starting the course. So I think it'll definitely help because you'll know the basics, so you can delve more into the advanced side of programming, learn new languages as well. So that's one. And another thing is, I feel like a lot of my professors and staff at CCI, they have very interesting like research fields of their own, and very interesting creative practices. So I would say, like, if you have like a project that you're really interested in, want to like learn more about, like go talk to them, and everyone's like super friendly, and I would say be very proactive when you interact with the tutors, professors, and not only that, but like with your cohorts, like classmates as well, because I guess it also depends on like every year and who applies to the course. But with our current course right now, everyone's from a different background. Like I know, Josh, you're from illustration. You studied illustration. Stuart, you studied economics, like for your undergrad. So like everyone's from a sort of like a different background, and I think that's what really makes the course unique. And you learn so much from it, from collaborating with others. So I would say those are like the three kind of like advice that I would give to new students.
Awesome. That's cool. All right. That's really awesome. And we loved seeing and hearing about your process, Anna. And if somebody wants to learn more about you on the internet, where would they find more?
I have a portfolio website up online. It's annatsuda.com. So ANNATSUDA.com. Maybe I can send the link on the YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, this way. Okay.
Oh,
Put it in the YouTube comments, which are over there. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anna. Let's go ahead and move on to Josh. Josh, do you want to go ahead and tell us more about your work and show us some of your projects?
Yeah, cool. Hello. So my name's Josh Murr, also on the MSc Creative Computing at CCI. As Anna just kind of briefly mentioned, my background is quite varied, to be honest. I started off in like a drawing and painting kind of world. I studied illustration at LCC. On that course, I actually discovered programming and really got into it then. But then through like various life events, I worked in the climbing walls of root tester for a few years. That eventually turned into carpentry and set making and that kind of thing. And then about a year ago, I decided I really wanted to pick up programming again. And the CCI was still a concept at that stage, so it was completely new. But the course seemed absolutely perfect. It was all the things I was interested in years ago. I was kind of loved the world of creative computing. And so it was quite an exciting prospect to see that course existed. And yeah, I'm really, really happy I went down that path and kind of took it back up again, because this last year, not even a year yet, this last 9 months, however long it's been, has been amazing. It's been so good. So I'm going to quickly talk you through a project that we did with Phoenix in her physical computing class, which has been dubbed DIY VR, do-it-yourself virtual reality. So in the first term, we spent a lot of time in all of our individual classes, kind of just learning core concepts, core like mathematical concepts, which are great for coding, core electronics, which are great for making like simple little physical computing projects. And I really wanted to kind of tie all of this together and see how far I could push it. So I came up with this idea to try and build my own very, very simple virtual reality headset. So this is it. And what I'll show you through some pictures and try and explain the whole project. But essentially the way it works is, instead of HD screens that you would have in like an Oculus Rift, you just get two bright LEDs which cover your eyes, and tiny vibration motors which sit all over your head. And as you move around in virtual space, I'll show you what it looks like on the screen. So this is the virtual space that you're in. It's like incredibly simple. You're that kind of, that represents the headset, that little kind of circular thing in the middle. And as you move around on the keyboard, the vibration motors in the head will vibrate depending on whether the right side of your head is colliding with this virtual wall or the left side. And if you look in a particular direction, the LEDs in the eye, the sort of little cups that cover your eyes, they light up. So that's what gives you some sort of very, very basic wayfinding. So yeah, as I say, in terms of the inspiration, I've always liked these kind of slightly obscure projects from the 60s where architects of the time were just like playing with perception. And a lot of the reading we were doing in the first term was also kind of in that world, sort of like thinking about what perception is, what it means, what it is kind of to interact with all these different systems which we can now create with, you know, contemporary technology. But I love these kind of early projects because of their simplicity. They felt very DIY. And even kind of graphics of the time. This is something that we were shown by Mick, sort of like very, very early computer graphics, which are very simple to recreate, but at the time they were kind of, you know, a breakthrough. So in terms of the technology I was using, it was, you know, an Arduino was the brain. There was a very simple little accelerometer, which gives the kind of the position data and rotation of the headset. These tiny little vibration motors, which are like, you know, pennies each. They find them in mobile phones and that sort of thing. The whole thing was 3D printed, which again is like a cheap thing to get into now. And yeah, it was a great project. It's good. I mean, it's not perfect, and as I say, it's very lo-fi, but essentially it works. You can kind of navigate through this very, very simple space, and you do get some sense of direction. So it was fun. It was a cool thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether to see if I can quickly get onto a more recent project, or maybe I'll show you what we've done over the last term.
Oh, do you have a version of it there? I saw you pick it up earlier. Can you show it?
Yeah, I do, yeah. This is it. It's kind of, it's been shelved since.
Put it on, put it on.
I'm gonna have to take my headphones off.
Oh, show us, show us. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the quality's like if you can see, but
we can.
There are the little vibration motors inside.
Mm-hmm.
And in amongst these tangle of wires, there's the Arduino, and there's a little IMU, which is the accelerometer. Basically, these things, this is like bit shifting, which controls all the motors, which is what we learnt with Phoenix. Yeah, it was a great project, and I definitely learned a hell of a lot. I feel like I could kind of tackle much more complex physical computing projects now if I wanted to, which is a great skill. Because I've always wanted to kind of tie together this kind of making background that I've got with all this new tech stuff that I've been learning. So it's fun. Okay. So now this is a more recent project. This is what we've been working on in the last couple months. Naturally, with the whole COVID pandemic, we've been locked at home, as I'm sure most people have. So this was a project which is originally meant to be interactive environments. So that turned into kind of virtual interactive environments. So I wanted to do is create this very abstract thing, a little, not dissimilar to the DIY VR project, some sort of abstract space which multiple people could interact with. And this is a website that multiple people can log into. And as you click and move around, your actions should show up on other people's particle systems that they're viewing. So this started out, I was learning a lot about WebGL and how to kind of make these particle systems which can be, that can kind of run quite quickly and efficiently using sort of various tricks that WebGL gives you access to. And then I just wanted to turn it into like a very simple interactive thing that like most people can see. So I wonder maybe if Georgina could put that link into the chat, that might be useful. I'll send the link somewhere. It's still, I only finished this a couple of weeks ago, so you may well come across bugs and stuff.
Ooh.
But yeah.
If you want to say the URL, Josh, I'll type it in.
So it's traces-cci.herokuapp.com.
Traces-cci.herokuapp.com.
Oh yeah, Georgina probably can't do that. Yeah, and this is kind of where I'm at now. So it's been 9 months or so, as I say, of like learning lots of different things, lots of physical stuff, lots of like core computing, Python and machine learning or web stuff over the last couple of months. Yeah, so it's been great.
Awesome. That's amazing. I do not know how to spell Heroku app. So if you want to go to the YouTube and type that in, feel free. And then people in the chat can join and see what it looks like there live in real time and play with each other. So it has been amazing to see your growth, Josh. I feel like you have come really far computationally since we first met. And it's been really lovely. With that said, what is the most interesting thing that you've experienced with your degree so far? What is the most interesting thing you've learned?
Potentially, hopefully it doesn't come across as a cop-out answer, but like the most interesting thing I've learned is how present all of this is. Like everything we've been learning is state of the art. I don't know if that, I can't think of a better term, but it's quite amazing to be in a world where if you read an academic paper which is like related to what you're interested in and it's more than 3 years old, it's quite literally old news. And so getting your head around that is, can be overwhelming, but also really exciting. It's so cool to kind of be in that world where things are happening really, really quickly. And it's, yeah, as I say, both times overwhelming and exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. Particularly being around Mick can sometimes be really exciting because he'll be like, "Here's this brand new thing I just wrote about that we just discovered," and you're like, "Ooh,
yeah,
it's really fun and cool." I love having him around. He's so interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing is that would be fun to talk about is what's the most challenging thing that you've encountered in the degree so far?
That's a good question. I think also kind of related. I think the most challenging thing is where to focus, really. As I say, like briefly mentioned just now, like it's been 9 months of learning lots of different things. And as Anna said, it is kind of like a full package where there's lots of reading to do, there's lots of technical stuff to do, there's trying to merge these two things together. And right now, I don't really know where I am going to focus, but that's what this kind of the next 6 months are about, where we're starting our thesis, and it's about kind of figuring out where I want to situate myself in this world. But yeah, on the same note, it is exciting.
On that point, what would be something you would pass forward to the cohort coming in?
Um, I guess be willing to put a lot of work in. It
It's
is a
an
lot of work.
understatement.
Yeah, but I mean that in a very positive way. Like it's very much the sort of course, the sort of kind of environment where you get in what you put out, and
Mm-hmm.
all of the tutors and everyone around you, kind of as I said, they're in a world which is moving very very quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
they know a lot, and if you're willing to kind of like really really step up your pace of work, or I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm not making assumptions about how quick or lazy you are, but if you do commit to kind of like reading all the papers, doing all the work, you will get a lot out of it, and you'll quickly see that yeah, the opportunity to be part of something very exciting is definitely there, whether that's professionally or academically, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is you want to get into.
That's awesome. That's really great. Well, it's been awesome. Please do share your link in the YouTube. And if you have a place where people can find out more about you, please also go and put that in the YouTube chat over there.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Stuart, let's go ahead and let's learn something about you and your amazing projects. I've seen you make some zany things, some serious things. It's been really cool to watch you grow from when you came in, and I saw you like I kind of know a little bit about coding to feeling like now, like if I ask you how much you know about coding, I feel like you would say my knowledge has increased like exponentially. So it's been really fun to see that happen while you've been here. And I look forward to seeing some of your work. So take it away.
All right. Thank you, Phoenix. A little bit about my background first. Like Anna mentioned, I started off doing my undergrad in economics back at University of Washington in Seattle. And after I graduated, or, coming up upon graduation, I discovered all the jobs were finance or insurance or just boring as all heck. So I kind of ran away and spent the next few years in China, where I taught myself to code, started doing basic web design projects in Python. And I paired this with a job being like an international courier, flying around the world, delivering boxes, never drugs, always boxes of like electronics, usually, which is pretty cool, logged a few million miles. But eventually, the web design stuff turned into a digital branding agency, and I got to work pretty closely with people who I would consider to be creatives, proper designers, branding people, illustrators, and it was like a whole new world had been opened for me. Um, and the agency led to something of a startup in the creative technology field. But it was really, really hard. And I found that I didn't have the skills to pull it off. And coincidentally, my girlfriend was applying to UAL and she found this course for me. And she's like, you should apply to this course. It has everything you need. And so I applied. And for some reason, they let me, within my econ background, in. I've never, I swear I'm not an artist. To this day, I swear. But what I do like to do is tinker around with code and do some really weird stuff from time to time. So maybe that counts. And so I may as well jump into my first project here. I call it the Thinking Cap. And this was for physical computing with our dear Phoenix here. It started off sort of as a bit of a joke. I've been interested in the idea of focus and how to achieve a flow state. And part of that is how to avoid interruptions. So I wanted to create a device which would help you avoid distractions. And just at the end of class one day, our philosophy class, no less, I was talking about this with Josh and some of the other classmates, and our professor was there, and he's like, Well, okay, you can actually pull that off. You can actually have this wearable EEG reader and tell when somebody is in a focus state. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Let's see what I can do. And I managed to pair this EEG.
We've lost Stuart. It seems so.
Reader.
I'm sure they'll be back.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Stu, I hear you. You're back now. It's
Am I
okay.
back? Okay, let's go back to the screen share there. Sorry. Okay, right. So I paired the EEG reader. I hope I was able to get that part through at least, with just some really obvious indicators, some really bright lights, and some tiny little coin vibrators, and I packed it all into the depths of an Abraham Lincoln style top hat. It was really messy, so I had to put a second top hat in as a cover. And while originally I was focused on concept of focus and how to maintain it, it became apparent as the time went on, and especially when I linked this up to Slack, that it was pretty dystopian, and it could absolutely be used by your boss to just monitor your literal mental state and judge employees. If everyone's wearing the thinking cap, your boss can tell who's focused and how frequently you're focused, and perhaps even tether your compensation to it. It was really, really fun to do. And I even made a companion little piece, which is teeny tiny. You can't really see it. I call it the boss bot box, which is an immediate way to get feedback from your boss, depending on how focused you are. If you're really focused, he smiles. If you're not focused at all, like I'm clearly not focused here, he's red and unhappy. And for me, this was my first time ever doing any physical computing, ever touching a component. Like, I mean, a component, an electronics component, or a circuit board, or any of that. I didn't know any of it coming into it. So it was really, really challenging. Spent, I swear, 100+ hours on the project, talking about, like Josh was saying, spending a lot of time on a project. So be aware of that coming in. And from there, I've jumped into a few different things. Oh, yeah, and if you see here on the side, I've got links that you can check the project out. I also became interested in just alternative interfaces. So I created a drawing tool. I don't know if I'll be able to run it since it requires the camera, where it uses machine learning to tell what mood you're in and determine from that mood what color we should use in the drawing. So I don't know if this will work. I don't know if it'll have access to my camera. You can try at home. Doesn't seem like it'll work. That's a shame. Essentially, say you're sad, it'll give you blue, and you can draw different shapes, different colors, depending on what your mood is. But, oh well, that is how it is. And most recently, for our environs class, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make a game. I've never made a game before. And I wanted to do it for a purpose. And this purpose that I chose was to support a group called the Rocky Mountain Wolf. Shoot, what is it? Yeah, here we go. Rocky Mountain Wolf Action Fund, who are trying to bring the gray wolf back to Colorado, which would link up a unbroken environment from Alaska all the way down to Mexico for the gray wolf. And I'd never used Unity before. I'd never made a game before. But I managed to pull something off, and the goal is simply to chase these deer off, because the deer, while there was only one at the start, they quickly multiply and become overwhelming for the environment. This is sort of a system simulation of a real ecosystem, a real small niche of an ecosystem. And I actually interfaced directly with the Action Fund people to understand how the wolves behave and how the environment is impacted by this imbalanced ecosystem, which was a lot of fun. And again, took way, way, way longer, I think, than I had expected, at least. But all in all, the project has been not just the project, but the course has been a chance to experiment and a chance to learn different aspects of programming that I'd never been exposed to before. It was very different than just doing REST API calls with web development. So I'm
Oh, we lost Stu again. I'm sure he'll be back. Seems like he's got some Wi-Fi issues. So until his audio feels back in, I can tell you a little bit about his WOOF project.
I would agree.
Oh, you're back. I was just going to talk
I'm
about your
sorry.
cool project where basically you modeled an entire ecology and you basically got to play this really amazing experience of seeing exactly what it feels like when there's a whole pack of deer invading and destroying an ecosystem. I actually thought that was an incredible project on your side that you sort of glossed over. It was one of my favorite things you've made. On top of just being really enjoyable to play, it was really educational. So
Still has a little bit of work to do before I can hand it over to them. I mean, hand over is too official, but like till it's useful to share on social media. Since this November is when Colorado is going to be voting on it. Thankfully, it's polling ahead by like far 80% approval. So
that's
it
great.
Should work.
Well, definitely put it out so it does help influence public opinion, because influencing public policy through computing is part of the point of this degree. It's part of why we want everyone to think this way. So you can think about, how do I change the world? How do I impact society using code, versus just like, how do I make a REST API, as you were saying, which is actually like fairly dull and kind of boring. It's great because it pays, you know, and making money is awesome, but sometimes you want more out of life.
Yeah. I think being an activist with these skills is an important mentality to have. You don't just want to be I don't know if anyone else calls it this, but I call it a code monkey. You don't just want to be a code monkey working for other people your whole life, just doing the grunt work. You don't want to do that. You want to
Pixel
do
pusher.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you just don't want to be a pixel pusher. That's why I left advertising. I wanted to have more impact. I wanted to see the impact of my work really change people and change their minds. I just can't do it.
I felt the same way during the end of my agency tenure. Even
Mm-hmm.
though it was my own agency, it's like, great, another restaurant.
Another menu on the internet. Okay, that's what we all needed. So, what was the most interesting thing for you about this experience so far?
I'm going to turn that around a little bit, and I'm going to go for unexpected, if that's
Do
okay.
it. I'm for unexpected.
Well, the whole course was unexpected since it's the first year of the course to begin with. It was a gamble on all of our parts to sign up for it, and I'm happy to say the gamble's paid off. The most unexpected within this gamble would probably be the philosophy aspects. That we had a course. It spanned 2 quarters, all around art as philosophy and technology and the philosophy around it, how it can impact societies from a whole bunch of different angles. It was absolutely illuminating. I did not expect to have that sort of component. I sort of expected it to be all practical. I also didn't expect that physical computing would be so enjoyable. I had no experience in physical computing coming into this. Incredibly challenging, totally different aspect of programming, computing in general than I'm used to. But it's now that I've gone through that, even just a little bit, I feel like I can go out and build any sort of device, right? I mean, I built a freaking EEG reader that can tell when you're focused and betray you, narc on you to your boss.
Oh, maybe this is not the activism we want to see in the world, Steve.
Yes, but as far as being technically difficult and impressive, come
You're
on, it ticks
fired.
those
You're fired.
boxes.
You're fired. No, no, no. But I do like it as a work of art. I do feel like it's a really successful critical work of art.
Yeah, the dystopian reframing definitely puts it in, well, a different place.
It does. I think it's a better place to be. I also, when I was doing my master's, stumbled across something that had pretty terrifying implications, and I also dystopianly framed it. So I relate to that impulse.
Yeah, something I always keep in mind is like, it's not really a superpower if it can't be used for evil, you know?
Oh my God, Stu, you really just said that. All right. So what was something you found really challenging?
Everything, but
Fair enough.
the most challenging part is the course, although it's, the past 3 quarters have all been taught.
Mhm.
We've been given the responsibility and the terror of being able to pick and choose our own projects by and large.
Mhm.
Um, which means, of course, that as master's students, we aren't being pushed to do a master's by our parents. This is all self-selected. We tend to be something of overachievers, I think, just as a
Mhm.
group.
Mhm.
So with every single project, I bit off a bit more than I could chew. And they've all been very time consuming and very difficult and very, very far out of my comfort zone, which is amazing. But I've managed to pull things off despite all of that, thankfully.
Great. Yeah, no, it's been fun to watch you push yourself. And then if you were going to pass something forward to the next year, what would you say?
Do push yourself. So I knew plenty of Python. I'd even done some machine learning before I joined the course. I learned much more about it through the course. It really rounded me out. But jumping into other languages and taking completely different angles, it really helps when you want to understand just how many different options there are when you're tackling a problem. There are different ways of thinking about each and every problem. And just having one version, one strategy, you might fail with that strategy, but this other strategy, which you didn't know before learning, I don't know, how to draw a circuit, uh, you know, it may end up being the better one. What else? To echo Anna, definitely if you don't know any programming, definitely learn some basics before starting the course. You will spend the first month and a half just trying to play catch up, and it'll be very stressful. So rather than doing that, spend the first month and a half before the course starts doing that catch up first. I strongly recommend it. Pick any language. Python would probably be the easiest, could be JavaScript. We use them all.
It's true. We have used all the languages this year. It has felt like a language cornucopia, I think.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, C, C++, whatever the Arduino thing is, it's sort of a C++ thing.
Yeah.
Um, C Sharp,
Mhm.
JavaScript,
Mhm.
Python,
Mhm.
and then during the course, I've also just on the side touched on Rust
Mhm.
because why not?
Might as well, you're here now. Amazing. Okay, so I would like to open it up for questions. It'll be a second or two before questions come in because there is a lag on the live stream. So maybe, do any of you have questions for each other or for me? Okay, so then I'm gonna ask a question. Anna, what are your plans going forward? What do you think you're gonna get yourself into?
Is this like in terms of like thesis project or more like
Yeah. Well, you
career
can
and things
talk
like
about both, but I was thinking
okay,
thesis.
anything, okay. So as I briefly mentioned earlier, like for my thesis project, I want to kind of go back to that approach of user-centric design using my knowledge of visual communication from my undergrad alongside everything that I learned from this course, but more specifically around like interaction design, experience design, and to create some sort of design object or service or product that encourages positive well-being and mental health. It's just something that I've been very interested in for quite a while now. And a lot of my project is around that area. So I would like to delve further into that sort of area. And in terms of career, because I think this is something a lot of us are thinking about because our course is ending in December, I definitely love to go into to have a job that lets me merge together and work on both the creative side, art and design, with the programming aspect. So I'm looking into more things like interaction design and experience design, and front-end development as well. So those are sort of my aspirations and my plan.
Amazing. So I'm going to open it up now to questions from the Slack. Sorry, not the Slack, the YouTube. I'm going to just ask if anyone has questions. Have questions for Josh, Anna, or Stu? Let's see here. Cool. So I think that somebody was asking if you guys had any resources or websites you would suggest for folks to learn from.
If you don't mind me just jumping in.
Please.
The place where I started learning Python way back when was Codecademy. Very, very good for getting just the basics down. And after I got the basics down, I went into the web development angle. And Codecademy is mostly free. So the web development angle, I continued on using this thing called Coding for Entrepreneurs. I think he's got a YouTube channel with plenty of free content as well, but he also has premium stuff. It's like $25 per month, which goes in incredible detail. And that's what really gave me the skills to be able to start my own little freelancer work way back when. And but really, if you're looking for skills to get you jump started for this, Codecademy, the C++, and the Python, you're probably good to go.
Cool. Thanks, Stu. Another question was, how much freedom do you all think you've had in choosing your own projects?
Yeah,
dangerous amount.
I think as Steve's already said a little bit, most, if not all of our projects are kind of self-led. There's like lots of technical and practical stuff taught throughout the week, but then every now and again you get given a project for that term, for instance, which you do have a lot of control over. There's like a few kind of boxes you need to tick just to make sure that you're in line with, if it's a physical computing class, you're making something physical. But you get a lot of freedom. And as Stu said, it's easy to bite off more than you can chew, but I think that's a good thing. I think that's partly the point, because that's how you learn the most. It's like you pick something which is just slightly above what you think is achievable, and then in the process of getting there, you learn a hell of a lot.
That is awesome. Another thing was, folks were really curious, how did you all deal with the lockdown, and how did you stay motivated during these really dark times that we found ourselves within?
Well, I would say, considering we're computer science here, that we've been pretty lucky. It was a pretty seamless transition to online only. And the CCI people have been pretty adept, like Tom, Phoenix, and all of our professors have been really adept at transferring everything over. I would say it's working better than we'd expected, and in the future we're looking at continuing with some sort of hybrid setup with some physical and some just more remote aspects of the learning.
Yeah, I think as far as I'm concerned, it's been a bit of a blessing in disguise, really, because this year for me going into it was about just working as hard as I can for a year, and being forced to stay in my room at my computer is a good thing, really.
It's been really fun to do. Like, I actually feel like it changed the dynamic that we all had to each other's work, because one of the things we did was start showing work every week. So everyone had to present their work every single week. And that really changed kind of like, I think, the window. I really became enamored with like Shaojia's design style. It was like so beautiful. And I had seen a bit of it before, but just seeing every week an iteration of that, I was really blown away by just like the diversity of the student work over week by week like that, and just being able to share online. It felt different. Like I felt like everyone critiquing everyone else's work it was a really enjoyable experience. Anna, how did you get through this?
Yeah, I completely agree with especially what Stu said. I was a bit worried about going into like everything being online, which means we have less access to facilities online. And because I really enjoyed the physical computing project for term one, and also a bit of term two as well, I wanted to do a physical computing project, essentially for the term three as well. But then because that was kind of off the table, or it would have been very difficult and challenging. But without that, like I probably wouldn't have undertook a project that used Unity. So although I feel like it's a balance. It has its both good and bad, or not necessarily bad, but because of the lockdown, I was able to kind of learn a new software. So in the end, I felt like it was a very positive experience. And also, yeah, like the online classes have been completely fine. And as you said, I really enjoy how everything, or not enjoy, but I find it useful how everything is being recorded, and I can just kind of go back and rewatch them, review them anytime I want to. So yeah, the online class experience has been amazing so far.
Yeah, I've been really impressed. I like actually was shocked, and it's been a delight. Like I actually have enjoyed it. The structure of the class has changed too, and it's been fun. I think that we will all be super happy to be back at CCI, though. I'm sure we all miss seeing each other and the vibe and the culture we had going, the collaborative feelings and just the energy. I miss the energy. I do miss seeing you all in person, I have to
Amen to
say.
that.
Yeah. Oh, there's two. What are the two Slack questions? Oh, wait, hold on. I don't see them, Tom. What are they? Okay, so facilities that are available at CCI. We have some great facilities. We have state-of-the-art computers. So we have a ton of really, really nice computers. There is a supercomputer lurking in the back, which is part of Mick Gerson's research. And our technicians are working day and night, our technical team, to get open server access. So everyone at CCI has access to host applications. So that's exciting. A lot of the researchers have made software. So like Mick Gerson has a project called Mimic, which lets people create creative applications on the internet and share them for free, which we have. We have access to 3D printers. We have access to paper cutters, general facilities. We partner with Camberwell to have access to a CNC machine and a laser cutter when they are able to fit us into the schedule, which has been really fun. We have a gigantic library of engineering and physical computing components, and it is super cool. We have Vives, we have mics, we have cameras, we've got all that good stuff. We've got laptops. We have a laptop locker, so you can take a computer out and just use it till the battery dies, put it back in the locker, it'll charge, which is a really cool thing. There's so much, and our library has a ton of online resources as well, which makes the lockdown way easier because you can still do your research. And also, it's just nice to be able to read on your iPad or however you're used to reading. So I think that about covers our facilities. We also have blazing fast internet from time to time, which is great, depending on what we're doing. I think that's about all of the facilities that I can think of. I'm sure I'm missing something because we just have a tremendous offering. And we also have our technical team, which is actually, I think, our most valuable technical resource. We have 2 and possibly emerging 3 in coming years, dedicated technicians who are there to answer your technical questions pretty much 24/7. Not 24/7. Let's be reasonable. They're there within business hours, but they're online. We have a shared social space where you can just pop a question in and they'll chime in with an answer really quickly, and they're just, I can't even begin to explain the depth of knowledge our technical team has that is accessible, and that's a wonderful thing. So cool. And Tom, you said there was one more question. Could you feed that through to me? Cool. What I'm looking for when people apply is their point of view. I care more about what you say you want to make than what you've made in the past. I'm really interested in your vision, your hopes and aspirations. A link to anything you've done would be great. I'd love to see that you'd made something. That would be useful, but don't let that limit you, because it could be something like you've made a company or you've made a small business. I see all that. If you're a mom, maybe you made a kid. That's an incredibly valuable contribution to society. So anything that you've made before that's been meaningful to you, feel free to tell me about it. We're looking for people with a diverse range of backgrounds. Obviously, I'd love to see if you'd had designing and coding. That would be great. Designing and art, that would be great and fantastic. If you had computational, we do have a few people who joined already computationally really skilled up who came for the other side of things. Just let me know what you've got. The only thing that like I'm not interested in is, you know, what you did. Actually, I'm kind of interested in that. I find people really fascinating, so I'm easily amused, but don't tell me about your summer job in high school or something, you know. Uh, so I think that should answer it. If you have any direct questions, you can always email us at CCI, or you can find us on our Twitter or Instagram accounts. Anything else, Tom? Cool. All right. So it has been really lovely to see you all again. I'll be back next week with my friend and colleague, Rebecca Febrink, to talk about machine learning and society. And I cannot wait to share that with you. So I hope you come back for next week. And a big thanks to all the students for everything that they have contributed. So yay. And it's been a great year. All right. Thank you for coming.